Welcome everybody out today. Just so that everyone is aware, we are going to be starting with our Special Community Development and Renewal Agency meeting of Herriman City. It should be a fairly short meeting, and then we'll immediately go into our City Council meeting. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Item 1 is a motion for review and outline of the finalization process to approve the minutes for December 11th, 2019.
I'll make a motion to have the minutes of December 11th, 2019 be prepared and distributed to each member of the Redevelopment Agency Board. The board will have 10 days to review the minutes and submit any changes to the secretary. If after 10 days there are no changes, the minutes will stand approved. If there are changes, the process will be followed until all changes are made and the board is in agreement.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Jared?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, that motion passes. Item 2, discussion and action items. Discussion and consideration of a resolution approving the interlocal agreement between Herriman City and the Community Development and Renewal Agency of Herriman City regarding the North Herriman Community Reinvestment Area sales tax. John.
So this is an agreement between the city and the RDA. Not working. Okay, magic. Interlocal cooperative agreement between Herriman City and this Herriman Community Renewal and Agency, and it's sales tax. So the sales tax comes to the city. The city will then give some of that sales tax to the RDA, which it will use in item 2.2. Next. This is the Herriman North area. This is basically the auto mall property, and it's a sales tax. Next. So it's 70% of the point of sale tax. So it's 70% basically of the 50% that the city gets attributable to sales within the project area for 15 years. So it's only the point of sale, 70% of the point of sale. And is there another slide or is that it? That's it.
So just for clarification for our residents, this is new taxes that would be generated from an area that currently has no sales tax being generated on it.
It's
So this is not
undeveloped property, so there's no sales tax in that area.
So when's the trigger date?
The trigger date is a date determined by the agency over a 2-year period.
So it's not, it doesn't have a trigger date yet.
It has not been triggered yet.
Okay.
Any
Thank
further
you.
questions or discussion by the council or board?
Nope. Make a motion.
I accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R2019-12, approving an interlocal cooperative agreement between Herriman City and the Community Development and Renewal Agency of Herriman City regarding the Herriman North Community Reinvestment Area sales tax.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Sherry?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, that motion passes.
Now, you'll see something very similar to this later on in the city council or in our city agenda where we approve the other side of that transaction.
Okay. All right, we will move on to item 2.2, discussion and consideration of a resolution approving a participation agreement with Herriman 73 Partners and Game Point Properties LLC in the Herriman North Community Reinvestment Area.
So this is an agreement between the agency and the end user of that sales tax that came to the agency. Same area. So it's 70% of the point of sale for 15-year period, but there'll be, Herriman 73 does not get it all because we have other commitments for that money, so it'll be after satisfying the city's obligation pursuant to a settlement agreement for the condemnation of the garden plat properties and the obligation to Game Point that you remember you made earlier, plus the agency's set aside of 10% for housing.
Would this be, the trigger date be the same as on the previous item?
Say that again?
What would the trigger date for this item be?
Same.
Same?
Is there a max amount on that? Or would there be,
There is not a max. They produce the sales tax, they'll get 70% of point of sale. We have
Sorry,
an estimate.
It's my question with this, and even trying to read through the 100 pages or so, my understanding is that there's going to be, say, several different dealerships involved. They're not all owned by the same entity. Who's Herriman 73 Partners, and how is this going to accomplish, in the end, what we want? It's a little too vague.
Well, Herriman 73 will use it as an incentive to get the auto dealers there.
But we're saying we're just going to give it to them and they'll decide. I don't know that I'm okay with that.
Who is this?
And I don't know that we even know who those, this is the first time I've heard of Herriman 73 Partners,
Those are the auto mall people.
right? But I don't like the idea
Hi,
of just handing
council.
them the money.
It's Larry Myler, Dave Reynolds, James Horsley. That's Herriman 73. So we have been working with the developers, and they can use the TIF, 70%, for land buy-down, infrastructure, and
Well,
incentives.
Excuse me, it's right here. Roads, storm drain,
Yeah.
water improvements, real property acquisitions, and incentive to participants, developers, retailers, and auto dealers.
There's no oversight by us. They just
Right.
get to take the money and allocate
Well,
it where
they
they
have to
want.
submit, so for the infrastructure, they would have to submit their paperwork to the city, and then Alan reviews that and pays them. So we don't just, but as far as like the incentives, yeah, I mean, we would be working closely with the dealers as well, so we would be involved and know what those incentives are. But for the infrastructure, they have to prove that they've installed this road or they've installed the storm drain, just like our other RDA areas.
Right, but I too have the same hesitation that it just feels like, can't we build something into the agreement to where this comes back before us, so we have some oversight, these numbers are coming before us?
So are you more concerned with the incentives? Because the infrastructure, we don't bring that back in the other CDAs. We just, like I said, Alan reviews those. Is it more like the incentives the dealers are getting or the land buy down?
I'd say oversight in general. The way it's presented is we just hand them the money.
Yeah, just a constant,
Even with the other CDAs, I'm kind of having the same questions come back of, all right, well, who
and
gets paid,
accounting.
who gets paid when and how, and
I don't have as much concern over the improvements component of that, because that, I mean, like you say, they have to come and demonstrate that they've put those improvements in order for us to be able to give that incentive back to them. Again, I echo a little bit in terms of the incentive to the participants component of that, because I think that, again, while I recognize the investment by this group in order to make that work as well, but I think what I would like to see is just some mechanism that allows us to work in partnership with them when it comes to those, I guess, some of those negotiations, if that makes sense. That's
Yeah,
my only piece. The infrastructure and the improvement component,
Yeah, and-
again, I understand that process is already in place and we're abiding by that in several other areas. That would be my only comment.
Well, what we could do is we can bring this back, but you have them make an application for the payment, and we review it and determine whether it's appropriate. That's what we're doing in the next participation agreement that you'll see in a few minutes.
Yeah, I feel strongly about that, partly because I know there is even a sentiment in our public that why do we continue to take our taxpayer money and give it away when they're coming here and they're making money anyway? And so I think that there should be some participation by us to make sure that we can answer those questions.
I think it's fine to do so. That's
No,
what it's there for, but we just need to make sure we're doing the proper amount of oversight.
Okay, then I would suggest you continue this, and we'll bring it back with those changes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? I'll accept a motion.
I'll make a motion that we continue item 2.2, which is resolution number R2019-13.
Second.
Motion and a second. Clint?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
I vote yes, that motion passes and will be continued. Item 2.3, discussion consideration of a resolution approving an interlocal cooperative agreement between Herriman City and the Community Development and Renewal Agency of Herriman City regarding the Herriman Innovation District property tax.
Okay, so this is the Bullfrog area, and it's an interlocal agreement between the city and the agency where the city gives property taxes to the agency, our share of property taxes. It's 38 acres. This is to orient you where it is. All the other taxing entities have agreed to the same type of agreement between the agency and them. So it'll be 100% of the property taxes received by Herriman, which is approximately $348,000 over 15 years. And these are the authorized uses. It's limited and we have an amount. And the amount set forth in the participation agreement. It's for reimbursement for power line, a gas line, and improvements to 118.
My understanding that there were no incentives in that area. Correct?
It's reimbursement of cost that they expended. I think that's correct.
So over here where it says incentives to developers or participants, there shouldn't be any incentives because it should just be strictly for infrastructure in this one.
You're right.
Quick comment. So are you talking about the end user Bullfrog or the whole area?
The whole area, as I've talked about this CDA in several circles, that's been a major
Well,
point
one
of
of the
concern.
problems with the incentive comment was because they looked at it like we were moving Bullfrog.
Right.
Well, if it's a new company from a different state, we might want to be able to have an incentive. Do you know what I'm saying? With the whole area, not just a user. We left that in there.
Yeah,
This
I
is the
understand that,
interlocal
but that's where
between
we,
the city and
that's
the
where we run
agency.
into trouble getting approval from the major players. Where we,
That's the comments that they have told me, just the one user that we have out there right now, they have an issue with incentive. But if you were working with EDC, Utah, or the governor's office, you know, on a different user from a different state, you usually do offer incentives.
Right.
But we can take that out, but that was not for this participation agreement.
Well, this is the interlocal. This is not the participation.
right, this is the interlocal, so that's what I mean, and this is just for our property tax. We could give them that, but
Yes.
I've represented to several of those people who are yet to make a decision on whether they'll allow us to use their funds for this project, that there won't be any incentives. So it's a little,
So
little
We don't-
problematic.
We don't foresee that, but most areas, they just have incentives listed for manufacturing businesses, but again,
Can we be specific and put in there that there are no incentives for relocation of in-state,
yeah, we can do that,
something like that? That's the
Yeah.
major concern.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Relocation
because that was
costs.
their concern, is just grabbing it from somewhere else.
If we just reword it that way, so
Okay.
then I think we're good.
Okay, just continue this and we'll bring it back fixed.
Any further
Sorry,
discussion?
these usually are quick meetings, as was described by the mayor earlier, but
I'll make a motion to continue resolution number R 2019-14, excuse me.
Okay, I have a motion.
second,
Motion is second. Jared?
yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I vote yes, that motion passes. And that item will be continued. Item 2.4, discussion consideration of a resolution approving a participation agreement with Riverbend Management LC located in Herriman Innovation District.
So this would be the participation agreement, but I'd also continue this because there'll be no money for the participation because we haven't, well, there'll be other monies, but we might as well
They give us
continue it so we do them all together. So here's the maximum amount that I was mentioning earlier of $743,000. That's the cap. That's how much they've already spent. But we'll bring that back when we do the interlocal, so it's all at the same time, if that's okay.
So I'll make a motion to continue, is that okay? A resolution number R 2019-15.
second,
Motion is second. Sherry?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
Jared?
yes.
I vote yes, that motion passes and that item is continued. I'll accept a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we'll move on to our general Herriman City meeting. So we will begin this meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance that will be offered to us by Alex Hill. If you would come to the podium, please.
Please stand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your participation in our meeting. Item 5.2 is City Council comments and recognitions. Any recognitions or comments by our council?
I do. As we near, obviously, the end of this calendar year, hard to believe that 2019 is over, and 2020 would be just right around the corner for us. I remember when Y2K was coming at us fast, and we thought that was weird, right? But now we're at 2020. But with that, obviously, comes change in our city, and in the form of a new council member that will be joining us at the first of the year. And with that ends the service of one of our current council members in Councilwoman Martin. She's not here tonight, but I didn't want to let the opportunity go by without recognizing her and thanking her for her service to our community. There's no doubt that putting yourself out there and running for a political office is scary, and it comes with challenges. It requires a lot of time away from family, a lot of dedication, and I think Councilwoman Martin has brought a lot of value in her time and service to our community. She has a lot of experience in city government, and she was able to use that to benefit us, I think, in some really key and critical times of growth and development within our city. And again, even though she's not here tonight for this meeting, I wanted to publicly tell her that I appreciate her service. You know, we get elected to make difficult decisions. And with difficult decisions come unpopular decisions and things at times. And that's true for all of us in one form or another. And that's just part of being a member of the city council. At the end of the day, we're tasked with making decisions based on the information that we have that are the best for our community long term. And though that may be difficult for some to see at the time, again, not something that I think at the end of the day, we all just want to be able to look ourselves in the mirror and say that we truly did what was best for our community. And I believe that Nicole had a good heart and was doing what she saw in her service was best for our community. And I think she should be recognized and commended for her, again, putting herself out there, going out to allowing people to throw stones at times because of things and decisions. But again, it's not an easy thing to do. But I think it's one that because someone is willing to do that they should be recognized for. And I just want to tell her thank you.
Ditto. I think anybody who serves deserves appreciation for sure.
I think I would just like to echo what you've said. I know that Councilwoman Martin is an individual who I respect more than I thought I would. She has done everything in her power to make sure that our city has everything that we need and is guided in the way that is appropriate. One of her probably legacies that she'll leave with our city is our community facilitator program, in which we now require our developers to meet with our community before they come to our planning commission and council to ensure that our community is being listened to and that those concerns are addressed before they even reach the city. That has been a fantastic success, and she should be commended for bringing it to our city. Because it has made a massive difference in the products that we get and the community engagement that we have. Councilwoman Martin is someone who I would be proud to vote for in the future. And I wish her the best in all of the things that she does moving forward. I just have a couple other things that I would just like to mention real quick. On our way in, I noticed that our skate ribbon is also open. And that is a wonderful opportunity for members of our community to come and enjoy some outdoor recreation in the wintertime. And I want to take a moment to thank the crews that work out there and our Parks Department for keeping that success in our community, as it's just opening and it's already a success again this year. And then I also had very interesting, had a group of students from Mountain Ridge High School show up at my door this last week, looking to offer service and collect for organizations that they thought were worthwhile that can use some help. I thought it was great that the youth of our community are taking the time during the holiday season to make an effort to serve others and to help those in need. And I would encourage anyone that might have these youth show up at their door to find ways to allow them to serve them and help the organizations that they are striving to help as well. So, any other recognitions by the council? Okay. We will move on to the public comment portion of our meeting. Audience members may bring up any item to the City Council's attention. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. State law does prohibit the council from acting on any item that does not appear on the agenda. We do have 2 forms that have been filled out, so we will start with those individuals. The first individual that I have listed here is Kurt Tolman. If you'd like to come up to the podium and
Hi, my name's Kurt Tolman. I live at 5252 West Armada Way. I've been an employee of Herriman City for over 15 years. I've been asked to stand down, step aside, walk another direction. So I only have 2 minutes, and so I'm just going to keep it short, present you this book, and we'll discuss later.
thank you. All right, the next individual that we have is Jeremy Talbot. Jeremy, if you'd like to come up.
So I live on the Solomir townhomes around 134th South and 52nd West, right on that east, right on the main road. And so our townhomes is limited to 1 parking garage, which isn't large enough for our roommates and stuff. And then the people as well as on the road don't have enough room for parking there when the snow comes and the snow plows, because we're not allowed to park in the streets. I've got a petition for just people that live on the road, if you guys would like to see it or anything. If I
Please.
bring it up. So basically saying we don't have any parking on the roads, and we've kind of resorted to trying to park on private property by the Jimmy John's and the Sodalicious, but they've told us that they can and will tow us at our own expense. So in us trying to find a solution to our problems, either we can park in these private spots or on the public roads, because we have no other parking areas. And so there's just not enough room for us and some people on our street as well to park. And so we were kind of hoping that we could come to a compromise or a change to our parking situation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. What we will most likely do is we'll direct you to our city staff to have a conversation with them regarding what options might be available for you in regards to that at this time. And if there's things that we would need to address as a council, they'll help you bring that to us at appropriate time.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I think we'd start with probably Blake, who is not sitting right here.
He's in the back.
He's in the back. So he'll work with you, and we'll go from there. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, please, Councilor.
Jeremy, thank you for taking the initiative to bring this to us, though, to try and come up with a solution that we might be able to work together to resolve. Thank you for taking that step.
Thank you.
Very much. Appreciate it. All right, that is the end of the comment forms that I have. If there's anybody else that would like to come and make a public comment at this time, please come up.
Steve Garrett, 5443 West Genoa Court. The city has done some things I haven't agreed with over the years, but one thing they've done really, really right, and to my opinion, the best thing they ever did was form the Herriman Police Department. I just want to just say what good people these people are, and you can see it in their when you're around them, that they're excited about their job and what they're doing. And a quick story is my daughter was asked to prom by this kid that she didn't really know very well. He was turned out to be kind of a weird kid. And she was on a date with another kid, and this kid had been stalking her and like following her, and followed her to our house like at midnight. And so we were watching from upstairs in our house, and we were just about ready to call the police because this young man had done some other disturbing things. The Herriman police had him pulled over before we even got a chance to call. So I don't know what this young man's intentions were. Who knows what they could have been? But the Herriman police were on that situation right away. So one thing that we may not think about is, what about the crime that doesn't happen because of our better police services? I don't believe that we would have had the same outcome if UPD was there. So Cody, I hope you tell your colleagues and other officers that your work's appreciated, and I just want to say good job. And Merry Christmas to you guys too. Thanks.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, seeing no other public comment at this point, we will close the public comment portion of our meeting. All right, we will move on to item 8.1, presentation of the annual audit.
Just want to make sure we had item 7 on there.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I got slightly distracted there for just a moment. We'll hold off on that we'll move back to item 7, City Council Board and committee reports.
Go ahead.
I guess, quick update on Southwest Visioning Study. It's underway. We're actually waiting this next 30 days or so to get preliminary existing conditions report that we can take to Capitol Hill and start talking with legislators, et cetera. We just set it up for next week, 18th. I think I forwarded everybody the email. If I haven't, let me know. I'll get it to you, just so you know that we're meeting to have a preliminary meeting with our area legislators to kind of put a plan in place of what items to address this legislative session. The study will be continuously ongoing for at least the next 12 months or so. We'll go from there. Unified Fire Authority, I don't know if there's anything really publicly discussed. We'll have a discussion and work meeting later.
And I will just mention from COG, from Council of Governments, that we also have an item that'll be on, once we go back into work meeting, that came out of that group that we will discuss in there that has to deal with the possible city's participation in exploring renewable energy, but what those possible benefits and implications could be to the city, but we'll have a chance to discuss that further as a council in our work meeting.
Mine were just mosquito abatement and Wasatch Waste and Recycling, and both their budgets are now approved and out there for public view. If you want to know what the next year's budget are. They're ready.
Okay. All right, now we will move on to item 8.1, presentation of the annual audit.
Mayor and council, I've provided each of you with a copy of our year-end comprehensive annual financial report with the auditor's report. I have McKay Hall here from the firm of Hinton and Burdick, who he was the lead auditor on he was the audit partner on our audit this year, which we've completed. I'll go through it really quick. As you can see, it's 180 pages long or so, but we'll give you a quick overview of some of the highlights of the report. First of all, I'd like to just share with you how this comprehensive annual financial report is established. First of all, we have an introductory section, which just gives an overall view of our finances. All of these red ones are things that are required in a normal financial report. All the rest of them are things that we have added to make it what it is as a comprehensive annual financial report. First of all, the auditor's report is on page 28 and 31. We do have an unqualified opinion, which means they have no reservation for anything reported in it. Okay? So, and then we go through the next 10 pages following that are my analysis of the outcome of the operations of the year. Then we get into the financial statements, and just a quick overview of the financials. Government finances are always done in fund accounting, but we convert it to what's called government-wide financial statements to make them look like a business financial statements. We don't account for it that way. That's an adjustment and something that we do. Though there are some things in the government-wide financial statement you'll never see in a business financial statement. But the attempt is to somehow make it look more like a business financial so that it's more usable for bankers, bonding companies, regulators. Then you'll see our fund financial statements. This is where you will see the way we normally account for governmental statements. Fund accounting is similar to your checking account. Virtually everything coming in is revenue, everything going out is expenditures. We don't have any long-term debt. We don't have any capital assets on our fund accounting. Those are treated as expenditures and revenue as they come in. If we go out and get a $50 million bond, it's revenue when it comes to the city, unlike you would do in a normal accounting. So proprietary funds are our water fund. Then you have your notes, and then you'll see all of our budgetary comparisons to show whether or not we're in compliance with our budget. An additional change from normal financial statements is we have added a statistical section, which is required if you're going to do a full CAFR. And in the statistical section, there's 4 sections. First of all, you look at trends. We show our financial data for 10 years. There's revenue section where we look at the availability of additional revenue or how we are generating our revenue. We go through a section on debt and what we're available for debt and what debt we have, how it compares year over year. We look at it in terms of debt that our residents have, not only from us, but from all other agencies that represent them. For instance, we look at the debt that Jordan School District has and how much of that relates to our residents. You'll see demographics, you'll see some operational things that show how we're operating. Those are how you'll read this report. Now, when you get to page 152, you'll see a whole bunch of reports that have been done by our auditor. They look at our internal controls, and they will look at whether or not we have any significant problems with our internal controls. That's required by the state. Then they'll go through what's called a single audit, and they'll look at our compliance for major programs, for our federal awards. This is our ACUB money. We have to go through everything there from essentially 154 down to 168 is for the single audit, to make sure that when we got the federal funds, we spend it the way it was supposed to be spent, we followed all the rules, and these reports say we do. We do have 3 findings in the report for things that we need to work on. Primarily have to do with the timing of year-end entries and how they're done. We've run into particular issue with construction projects that run over the end of the year and which year they should actually be recorded in, and so we'll be making some adjustments to our processes to deal with those. And in one case, changing the year it was done in got us a finding of going over budget because we brought it back into this year, but we're working on those. I'd like to share a few highlights from the financial statements. First of all, our net position, which would be similar to retained earnings in a corporation, increased this year by $46,684,000. So we currently have total net position in the city of $386,381,000. Of this $46 million of increase, approximately $24 million of that was assets that were donated to the city by developers. This would be things like water lines, streets, street lights, water lines, easements, right-of-ways, and so forth. About half of that increase came from that.
So before anybody, I saw some eyes get big, $386 million, that's not money that we have.
No, that's not money we have. That is, we'll get to the money we have in just a minute. Okay, our capital assets increased this year by $39 million. Currently have on our books $416 million of capital assets. And as I mentioned, $24 million of that was contributed by our contractors. Our total debt decreased this year by $3,694,000. Our current debt is $70,038,000. Now, if we look at the fund statements, we look at our general fund, we currently have a fund balance, and this is cash, of $4,998,323 in our general fund. This represents 23.5% of our general revenues. We are allowed to have 25%. We try to stay as close to 25% as we can so that we have a reserve for operations. Even though our general fund increased by $410,000 this year, our percentage is down 1.3% from what it was last year. We were at 24.8% last year. Our fund balance went up, but our percentage went down because our revenue increased. The fund balance of all of our general or governmental funds are $10,552,000. This did go down by $6,470,000 this year based on purchasing the auto mall property. Okay. This year, our general fund revenue increased by 14.8%. Our general fund expenditures increased by 59.1%. The increase in expenditures was based on creating the police department. The revenue will catch up with that, but because of the timing of the point of year that we get our money from property taxes for the police, it hasn't caught up yet. But our revenue, our expenses went from 13 million last year to 20 million this year, and 6 of that was related to the police department, which we also have since collected 6,100,000 in property taxes. So we're staying with what we had decided there. If you have any questions for me or for our auditor, he's here to answer questions. Otherwise, that's our report.
At least introduce him.
I did.
Thank you, Alan.
All right, thank you very much. We
If
appreciate
anybody
it.
in the audience wants to come read it.
It's nice and thick.
It is online, so anyone can look at it online, or if they want to come in and get one of the books, I have some.
Thanks,
Okay,
Alan.
thanks.
All right, we will move on to item 8.2, introduction of the 2019-2020 Herriman Royalty. Wendy Thomas, our Parks Director.
I don't know if we can top the audit discussion, but we'll try really hard. So tonight I have the pleasure of introducing, well, I don't have the pleasure of introducing, I'm going to turn the time over to Tabry. But these young women have already been extremely helpful to our events team. They helped us with the RSL celebration and parade, and also with Night of Lights, which was on December 2nd. So we're just going to take a quick moment at the crowning award moment, and then we'll turn the time over to Tabry. We can all just clap and cheer like.
Maybe somebody can narrate for us. Who are we seeing?
Yeah, you can.
My name is Tabry Pulver. I'm the director of the scholarship competition. You just saw Danielle Fisher, our second attendant, and right now we will see Paige Welsh, our first attendant, and then our current Miss Herriman, Samantha Barney. I'm sorry that the sound isn't working. I had the opportunity to serve as Miss Herriman several years ago, and so I've seen firsthand the benefit that this program has. So I'd just like to thank you all for continuing to support this program. Samantha would just like to speak to you all for just a second.
Hello, I am so thrilled to be here today. I've been looking forward to this night for a couple weeks now. And yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself and say how excited and how grateful I am to be able to serve Herriman. This community has truly been a huge blessing to me, and I really credit so much of what I've accomplished and who I am to the people here. So to be able to be Miss Herriman and be involved in the community and give back in whatever way I can is something that I am beyond excited about. My social initiative is all about the power of positive thinking, change your thoughts, transform your life. And I'm really excited to be an example and to help people use their thoughts to help them feel successful. And sorry, not just feel, but help them be successful. So thank you so much for your time. I'm really excited to serve.
Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
So we'll do the picture, but I also just want to extend a thing that producing this pageant is no small feat, and we couldn't do it without our Herriman Arts Council and without Tabry. And also Laura Twitchell is our amazing liaison with the Arts Council, and she's a big help to them as well. So thank you very much for everything you guys do. So let's get a picture. Is that okay?
A whole bunch. Get used to it. That way we can make sure that nobody's eyes are closed. Okay. Thank you.
Just have to come next week. Oh, you're gonna leave? You're just gonna walk out? All right, we will move on to item 8.3, Quarterly Traffic Committee Report. Bryce.
All right. Good evening, Council and Mayor. As we've talked about in the past, we are starting to have a traffic committee update from our traffic committee quarterly. So you'll see this every few months on what our traffic committee's done in the past few months and what current problems we're looking at or complaints that we're looking at within the city. And so we'll probably review a couple items that we talked about last time just to kind of get a good feel of what the committee does. And so the traffic committee is a collection from several departments at the city. That includes the engineering department, the planning department, public works, Herriman City Police, our GIS department. We have a collection of representatives from each of these departments to help us solve some of the problems or concerns that we have within the city with traffic safety issues such as speeding, delays, crosswalk and pedestrian safety, if there's improper signing or if there's a need to change the striping on the road. These are some of the concerns that we receive as staff, and we like to collect those every month and have a meeting as a traffic committee and put an agenda together every month to go through the concerns we've received from residents, whoever it is, and go through areas where we see we could make improvements, or maybe it's a decision that we can't do anything at this time and move forward that way. And so this is just a report to kind of go over the highlights of the last couple months of the stuff that we've been looking at and the solutions we've proposed and gone forth with. So another aspect of the traffic committee is that we collect traffic count data throughout the city. And so we saw this last time a couple months ago, but we've updated all of the counts that we've taken. So there's a few more dots on the map this time where we've taken traffic counts for several purposes. The first is to give us an idea on how our operations are currently, if we're having major delays, if we're seeing major overcapacity of roads. But that also plays into us master planning our future roadways and what improvements that we need to have in our future roadways. We also look at where we're going to place future signals based on these counts, traffic signals. And so this helps us understand where we need those traffic signals in the future. We also have many complaints, or many requests, I should say, for four-way stops in neighborhoods. And so for that, we generally have to meet a warrant of traffic to put in a four-way stop. And so these counts help us understand if we're meeting those requirements or not. And then also we can get speed data from these counters. And so we can kind of confirm complaints that have come in if there's an area of major speeding. And then also for economic development, when we're trying to attract businesses to the city, they like to see how much traffic's going by the areas. And so there's several reasons, and I just wanted to show all the traffic counts we've done around the city for 2019. And then I'll just run through some examples of the stuff that we've been working on for the last couple months, similar to last time. So here we had a concern. This is just a cul-de-sac off of Rosecrest where there was a no parking sign pointing away from the intersection, but there was no end to that arrow. And so as you can imagine, there's confusion on not only enforcement from police, but also the residents where they can park in this cul-de-sac. And we already have a state law that you can't park within 30 feet of a stop sign. So this no parking sign, we decided was not needed. And so we removed it. You can kind of see the time difference in the snow there. And now we have that no parking sign for future use in other locations based on several residents having questions there, and also the police department also talking to us. And that's the benefit of having a traffic committee with several departments involved, is we can get input from all different sides instead of just engineering what we think. Another major issue that we've heard concern on is the crosswalk here on Main Street, just in front of Silvercrest Elementary. It is not a stop-controlled intersection, and so because of that, there's some concerns on visibility at this crosswalk as cars and other vehicles are crossing through this crosswalk. As it's also a safe walk route as children are getting to school, and just in general as pedestrians are using the crosswalk. And so we took a look at ways we could improve the visibility and clarity of this crosswalk. And so what we looked at, we already had the flashing beacons that you press the button and the lights flash right on the outsides of the road. But there was some concern that as you were coming around the corner of west of where we're looking at right now on Main Street, that there was still some visibility issues. So to do that, we added some solutions. And also we had issues of cars coming off of Herriman Rose Boulevard. We received several concerns of 2 cars trying to turn left out of 2 different lanes. And so we had a 2-way turn lane before where it wasn't really clear, especially with where the stop line ended, if you could turn left out of there or if you needed to be in the straight through lane. So we wanted to improve the clarity of that left turn lane. And so we did 3 things that kind of showed there on the right. We installed a 3rd flashing beacon in the center island to help with those inside lanes, to be able to see a little clearer those flashing beacons if there's a car in the outside lanes, to make sure that they have full vision of those flashing beacons. Another thing we did was bring the yield lines back. So one of the concerns was that when there's a car in the outside lane and someone's crossing, that the car in the inside lane didn't see the person crossing until it was almost too late, right? So they'd have to slam on their brakes. And this 3rd flashing beacon should help with that, but also bringing the yield line where when those lights are flashing, where the cars should stop, further back from the crosswalk, to be able to give those inside lanes and outside lanes vision all the way through to see pedestrians. And then, like I talked about, we also installed a dedicated left turn lane on Herriman Rose to clarify that as well. A similar situation, this is behind the elementary on 129th South and Bellagio Way, or the entrance into the Tuscany area. This is also a school safe walk route, and so the crossing guard actually pointed this out to us and a resident, that similar situation, you had cars that were going left in both lanes, and so there was confusion on which lane to get into and which lane was the left turn lane. And so to do that, we did a similar thing, put in the dedicated left turn lane to clarify that. Another major concern was the traffic around Athlos Academy. So this is a concern with any school, right? That there's a half an hour in the morning and a half an hour in the afternoon that is just loaded around the school. And so in the case of Athlos, there were some issues with cars stopping on our roadway before they even got into the school. And so traffic would back up. Before we did anything, that was just a shoulder where that red box is. And so cars would stop. We had no parking, no stopping signs, but it didn't seem to help. Even when police were out there, it was really hard to enforce, because they would say, hey, I'm just in the car for a couple minutes. I'm going to be out of here. And so because of that, the police department actually brought this one to our attention on how we could improve this, and made some suggestions for us here. And so to improve and make sure that the traffic wasn't backing up onto our public roads and blocking traffic. We did a couple things there. So we installed, instead of having that as shoulder, you can see at the bottom, the south end, this is Mustang Trail Way and Herriman Boulevard. There was a merge lane, and it used to just merge you into the straight through traffic, and then that became a shoulder. So we changed that to just be a right turn lane to allow cars to get into Athlos Academy, get them off the road, while also designated the straight through traffic can kind of bypass that backup. And so that was just a simple way. It required a little bit of striping and a sign to improve the flow at that location. We also take a look at a lot of the school safe walk routes, and this is something we rely on with the police department as well, and their crossing guards let us know where they see unsafe situations or situations where we could improve the safety of the walking route. And so this is on Rose Canyon Road and the intersection with Ivy Farms Drive. And I believe the safe walk route is to Butterfield Elementary. And so you can see it there that the crosswalk is to cross Rose Canyon and then go north on Ivy up to Butterfield Canyon, Butterfield Elementary. And so you can imagine there, the sidewalk, if you look really closely on that west side, ends after maybe 50 feet, right? And there was no crosswalk designation to get to the other side, the east side that had the sidewalk all the way up. So the crossing guard noticed that kids were crossing kind of wherever they wanted to on the road, wherever they saw fit. And we decided that we need to do something there. So because of that, we installed a new school crosswalk, which requires specific signings, specific pavement marking, and we worked with the police department to make sure that that crossing guard was able to now cross them across Ivy Farms and use that sidewalk all the way up instead of going up and then kind of just getting lost and trying to cross wherever they could. And so that was one of the things that we looked at. It was the safe school walk routes. This was another concern that we received several complaints about. This is at the intersection of 134th and Rosecrest Road, or otherwise known as 56 West. As you can tell, when you're coming from the north coming south, there were a lot of complaints that there was no right turn lane here. So you can kind of see where we're at. We've got Wendy's on that right east side, Mountain America on the west side, and then Walgreens is in that southwest side. So, but when you were coming on 56 West or Rosecrest Road south, there was issues with cars trying to turn right and cars trying to go straight. It was a shared lane at that point, and we received a lot of complaints that some people decided to try and squeeze that in for a right turn lane, and others would wait, and then there was confusion there on how that would work, and so we wanted to clarify that as well. And we also knew that there would be further development coming west of where we're looking with KFC and other commercial development coming in. And so we took a look at ways we could improve that. And the way it was existing, we couldn't fit in a right turn lane, so we had to adjust all the lanes a little bit over to be able to fit that in and to be able to make that work. But we were able to fit a right turn lane. It's a little skinny, but it meets the requirements that we need for a right turn lane. And so sometimes it's just fitting in what we can and making simple fixes as much as we can. And that's mostly what we do as a traffic committee.
Well, being someone that is in that situation a lot, that turn lane has helped significantly.
Yes. That's good to hear.
Area.
That's what we like to hear, because sometimes we put these out and then we don't hear back about it. So I'm glad to get some positive feedback on that.
No news is good news.
Right, exactly. So now I'll work on some of the current projects, move on to some of the current projects we're looking at or working on as a traffic committee. This first item is now finished and is now completed. So this is on Anthem Park Boulevard. If you were to take a look at the map, on each end of Anthem Park Boulevard at 118th South and Rosecrest Road, or once again 56 West, we had a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. But then right in the middle of it, on Anthem Park Boulevard, we had a 40-mile-per-hour speed limit. And that's because the road was a little wider, a little bigger than the roads neighboring it. But because that there was a middle school there, and we saw a lot of students and pedestrians in general using that crosswalk right in front of the school, we decided to take a look at if we could lower it to 35 to improve safety for those crossing right in the middle, right in front of the middle school, and also to have a consistent speed limit throughout there, so we're not jumping up and down and then getting confused at what the speeds are. And so that has happened. We put up message boards warning of the change of speed limit, and they're now up. It's now 35 miles per hour all throughout that section.
Good move. I always thought that was weird that was 40 anyway, because I didn't notice it was 40 till one day I was like, wow, there's a 40-mile-per-hour speed, because you come from 35, and it just feels like it should stay 35.
Agreed. And talking with the police department, it's much easier to enforce that way, where it's 35 consistently throughout, where it's kind of popping back and forth. It's really hard to say, oh, you passed the sign and it's too late now, right? And so it was nice to just make it consistent all the way through.
I think this was a stretch of road where people knew that it increased, and usually that meant they increased more, because if it's 40, it means they probably won't hit me until I'm around 50, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
So, like you say, I think the consistency has again been significant in this area.
Good job.
This is a project the next project we've been working on for quite a while, and this is improving the quality of crosswalk at Juniper Crest and Mount Ogden Peak Drive, or on the east side, it's Patriot Ridge. And we're looking at putting in a pedestrian island in the center of the road, because that's a super wide road. If you're
Really wide.
Yeah, if you're trying to cross that, it's intimidating to get all the way across there without a car coming, right? And so this enables pedestrians to get halfway and kind of take a break, be safe in that island, and then look again and get the rest of the way across the road. And with that, we're looking at the possibility of installing those flashing beacons like we have on Main Street to warn the cars of pedestrians in that crosswalk ahead of time.
Yeah, the line of sight coming down that road is not great either. So having that extra safety there for those pedestrians, especially with the number of children that cross before and after school, is I think a high priority.
Exactly. And we see this commonly with higher speed roads that are wider, that don't have stop control on the crosswalks, right? These are the ones that we have to really take care to make sure that there's a safe way to cross the road on those. And then the last one we're taking a look at, similar situation. Now that the new high school is open and the new elementary on Sentinel Ridge Boulevard, off of Rosecrest and Sentinel Ridge, there's an intersection here that poses some problems also for pedestrians. So in the northwest side, that top left corner, that's the high school parking lot. And so if you were to go up a little more, that'd be the new high school, Mountain Ridge. And if you were to keep going north on the east side, on the right side, is the new elementary. And so similarly, we don't have four-way stop control here for several reasons. We have traffic that really backs up going into the high school. And so if we were to put in a four-way stop, it would back up probably all the way to Mountain View. But that means we have to take a look at the safety of the pedestrians as well. And so this is another location where we're taking a look at what ways we can improve the safety of the crosswalk, whether that's flashing beacons, whether that's bringing the yield lines back again, whatever that is, we're taking a look at. We haven't had any final conclusions at this location yet, but this is one of the top concerns that we're receiving, and so we're taking a look at it and seeing what we can do at that location. And then I just wanted to end with how we receive our concerns. So any resident can submit a concern, anyone can submit in two different ways. We receive email at engineering@herriman.org. Well, if you just submit an email that way. Or there's another option to go online and to submit through a form, and that's at herriman.org/police. That's through HPD. They have a button that you can click on, and that's the services button when you get to that page. So I've highlighted a screenshot there. If you click that button, services, and then that'll bring you to this page. If you click the submit traffic concern button, that'll bring up a form that you can fill out, and then we'll receive those traffic concerns as well. And so that's the best way to submit any traffic concerns or complaints to city staff to take a look at. Are there any questions or any thoughts?
Great job.
No,
Thank you, that's awesome.
we're happy to see the committee taking such an active role in helping our community be safe, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now you met Bryce, he's one of our up and rising stars, as you can tell.
Thanks, Bryce.
Thanks, Bryce, appreciate it. All right, we will move on to item 8.4, appointment to the South Valley Sewer Board. Brett.
Mayor, I'm not going to walk on around for
Yeah,
a
you're
few seconds if you don't mind, but I just want to, I was directed by council to bring this appointment back to the council for approval to nominate Clint Smith to the sewer board. He finished out the term that was vacated by Mayor Freeman when he left office. And you felt a desire to continue with that continuity he has there and the learning curve he's already gone through. So it's before you all for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R40-2019, appointing Clint Smith to be appointed to the South Valley Sewer Board.
Second.
Motion is second. Jared?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. That motion passes. Congratulations to something you're already doing.
Yep.
8,
Good organization, very good organization.
8.5, presentation and resolution appointing members to the Planning Commission. Michael Malloy.
Thank you. We brought this to your attention last month in the work meeting and asked for direction from the council whether or not it was the council's pleasure to consider reappointment of 2 regular Planning Commission members, Chris Berbert, who has been serving as our commission chair, although I know he's hoping to pass that baton along at the next meeting when we will have elections for chair and vice chair. And then also Andrea Bradford, who before this current assignment had been serving as an alternate, and then she filled the vacancy of one of our regular members last year. It was the direction of the City Council that you would like to see these 2 individuals presented for reappointment. As stated last month, they were both asked if they would like to continue to serve Herriman, and they responded very quickly and said that they would. So these 2 names are for your consideration tonight.
Better make it official before they change their mind.
Yeah. And a quick comment, and then I will make a motion. Having served with both of these individuals and serving for some time on the Planning Commission, this is a very important role for our community, and to have individuals that have served, have a desire to continue to serve, is a great benefit when you talk about sometimes a thankless job. This might be it could be at the top of the list at some point. Again, they serve a very important function, but appreciate their service and look forward to their continued service to the community. So with that, I will make a motion to approve resolution number R41-2019, appointing Chris Berbert and Andrea Bradford as members of the Planning Commission.
Second.
I have motion and second. Sherry?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. That motion passes. We will move on to the public hearing portion of our meeting. Please be aware that as we do have a public hearing, if you do wish to make comment to any of these items, the same rules will apply as we have during our public comment section. First item will be public hearing to consider vacating right-of-way located at approximately 12100 South, 5700 West. Blake.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a piece of property that we talked about a little while ago. We brought in a whole list of properties, and this is one that we have worked with to do the property vacation on. Just a reminder, this happens to be located on Yukon River Lane. The little yellow box shows the location of this trail. This was dedicated to the city as part of the subdivision as a trail access to the future trail that would go to the high school and go along Midas Creek. As developments occurred, the trail along Midas Creek actually falls onto the south side of Midas Creek, and the school district has constructed a detention basin and a chain link fence around their school and doesn't have an interest in connecting a walking path to the school. So if you look at the picture on the right, it shows a trail that goes to a fence, and it's shared between two property lines, and no one's using it. There's a section of the sidewalk missing. So as we discussed in our previous meeting several weeks ago, council had an interest at that time to vacate this property. So this item's on for public hearing as part of the process. I would recommend that it's vacated and back to the property owners so that it can be used for something more useful than just an empty trail that doesn't go anywhere. I can answer any questions if you have any at this time as well.
And just for the public's notice, this is just the public hearing. We're not taking any action at this time.
We can't
That's-
take, we can't take
We can't take action?
You can. I was anticipating that we'd have the public hearing. Depending on what happened, we could bring it back next meeting, or we could do it this time. So it's up to you if you want to.
Okay. We can't if we want to.
Okay. All right, all right, let's go ahead and open up the public hearing portion of this meeting. If you have, if you'd like to speak during the public hearing, please come up to the podium and state your name. All right, seeing none, I will accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing on item 9.1.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. All right, let's see.
I actually think that this item is very straightforward. Does any of the council have any concerns with it?
Well, it's not a set procedure, but just in general, we just usually don't vote on
wait till
something the
next
first
one.
time it's
If we
public
want-
hearing, just in
I'll-
case there's people in the area that weren't aware of it, and
That would be my only concern.
I don't have any concerns about it, but
Yeah.
just to leave it.
I'll do what the pleasure of the council is. Like I say, I think it's a very straightforward item.
I agree with the straightforwardness of it, but I just think as far as process, it's just, it's
Okay.
a public hearing. And then the next time it's on here, it's not even really noticed as taking an action. So it just feels like we should just close the public
Just in
hearing.
case there's someone that has a problem with it,
Yeah.
they can.
We would hate for our community to think we don't listen.
And I don't disagree. The only thing I will say is that we've closed the public hearing now. So unless somebody wants to come in the public comment, they don't really
Right.
have an opportunity
That's
to
true.
comment on this item
Oh, we
directly
did
again.
close the public hearing.
So
Well,
again, as a matter of process.
We shouldn't have closed the public hearing.
But it's really not on as an action item though, really. I mean, it's
I think any
noticed as a
I
public
think any
hearing.
public hearing can be an action item by the simple nature of a public hearing.
And I am getting a nod that that is correct from our city recorder, so.
I struggle, just because you can, should you? And that's one more thing to put on the next one.
Yeah.
I hate
And like I
that,
say, by way of process, I hate to close a public hearing and then leave it on there as an indication that they may have, again, there's public comment,
Right.
but the
But
hearing
there
on
is
this,
somebody that
the hearing on this item has already taken place.
But we haven't made a decision. If is somebody that has an issue with it, they can
Right.
contact us. And
Did you anticipate it coming back? Yeah. So that was my only, he'd anticipated bringing it back. This was just the next step. It's just the process.
Yeah, we've always just put things on for public hearing for decision the next time. So regardless, that's what we've just assumed as staff. So if that's the way you go, that was actually what we anticipated.
Staying with our
Just like
process, let's-
process.
And again, I have no problem with it, other than, again, next time we're going to hear it again, but
hear
not
you.
have an opportunity for public comment on it because we've already had that tonight,
Right.
so. If I think in process for the council moving forward, if that's a
open.
process we want to do, then we probably should leave these public hearings open if we really anticipate that they may, what's that, Jackie?
Yeah.
I'm good with putting it on the
Something like
consent
that, to
agenda.
where if we don't have any
That's a
further,
great suggestion.
then we don't have to just review it again. Yeah. Thank
Great
you.
suggestion.
idea.
So consent agenda, it sounds like the consensus here.
That way, if somebody does have an issue, they can contact us and weigh in and, yeah,
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
we
pull
could
it out
always
if we
pull it
need
off
to.
of consent, yeah.
perfect.
Awesome. With that, I'll move on to 9.2, public hearing regarding the water conservation plan. Justin.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to present this update, just a draft update to our water conservation plan. I know it's not a very exciting topic, as like finances and audits and things, but I'll do my best. So kind of what water conservation plans are. So the legislation approved a bill to require water purveyors to have water conservation plans. And that was done in 2004, kind of following the governor's 2000 water conservation plan to try and reduce water use by 25% by 2025. So they adopted this in hopes that it would help meet those goals. So the plans are supposed to be updated every 6 years or as needed. Water conservation, these plans play an important role in many things that we do. One of the big things they do is help us determine future water demands through our water master plans and those types of things. They also help us determine infrastructure sizing and things like that as we're going through those plans. They assist us in setting conservation goals, public education, and then also identify some areas where we can improve. So some data that we can look at here. So in 2010, we decided to go back to that year because it's a good year for population data. So we can identify and compare our water use data to those, to that firm data that we got from 2010. So as you can see, since 2010 to 2018, which was the last full year of water data that we had, we've had an 18% reduction. Now, I wish I could say that that was fully to conservation, but there's a lot of things that play a role. As you see in years, we have a lot of fluctuation sometimes. And the fluctuation can depend on if we had a hot summer, if we had a wet spring, how much water use was throughout the year. Then the other thing that can play a role in that are the
Justin?
types of... Yes, sorry.
I got to interrupt you for a moment.
You bet.
You motion Cody to get in here. I want to make sure. We got to brief the audience. I know some of you are nervous of our little activity we've been going on. We are locking down the building and securing the building, and I'll tell you a little bit what we think might be a threat. The gentleman that approached the podium had a book in his hand and delivered a book and an envelope to the mayor. Precautionary, because we're concerned about the state of the person. We're locking down the building, and you cannot leave until we find out what's in that envelope. We're worried about contaminations that could affect you. Don't panic. We don't think it's there, but we're doing everything as a precaution. So we're actually trying to figure out who was here and contacting them, and we'll brief you as we get more information. But Hazmat's been already on it. If you watched this, we collected the book and the envelope and walked it out of here with gloves on and securing the whole situation right now. The person did leave the building and went home. That was witnessed, and we have officers going to his home, make sure he stays there. So there's no immediate threat, but we want to walk through and protect everybody, okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you, Brett.
All right. So there's a lot of times that you can have fluctuation in water use. And so a lot of times, as I was stating before, is unit types that are being built as well. So those are some of the things you can see. So how we predict water use is per capita. So you have gallons per capita per day is used by all the residents here. You have residential, commercial, industrial users. All of those are lumped together per capita. Okay, so you take all the water use for all of those different unit types and you add those together, which is per capita. The one thing that I want to highlight, as you can see, is in the residential, indoor use is about 41% of the total use per year, and 59% is used outdoors. And that is similar in all of the different customer types that we have, industrial, institutional. Well, we have no industrial yet, Bullfrog, but we don't have any usage data that we can use there. But as you can see, the indoor use is, quite a bit less than what we see in the outdoor use. So conservation plans tend to target those types of uses, our outdoor uses, because that's where we can see the most benefit. And so over the last couple years, the legislature has put into some bills and adopted some things to try and come up with better ways to predict water use and conservation going forward. And so what they've done is they've adopted regional conservation goals, because as you can tell throughout the entire state, there's different regions, different climates. You know, down south it's a lot warmer, up north, and you have mountainous regions. And so they've tried to determine regional goals. And so we fall within the Salt Lake region. What they've done is tried to adopt something that will reduce the per capita water use by 11% from 2015 to 2030. As you can see, we're below that, what they're trying to get us to already. So we've done some great things over the last couple of years. And so by 2030, they would like our per capita to be 162 gallons per day. We're already sitting at 158.1 gallons per day. But what this table is indicating of since 2010, what our goal would be based on the regional goals that were set by the state. Okay, that's just what that was indicating. So this will show us some of the projected water supply. The important things on this graph here are the blue line and the dashed black line. Those indicate our water demands with or without conservation. So the black dotted line indicates demands if without conservation or projected conservation goals that we're setting. The blue line indicates if we have conservation. So as you can see, conservation is going to play a very important role in all of our water demands as we move forward. And so it's important for us to work with Jordan Valley, because a lot of that is going to be coming from them. Our indoor demands are going to be coming from Jordan Valley in the future, and a lot of our external or outdoor uses are going to come from the canal and underground water sources. Some of the things that we're doing to help some of these conservation is meter reading and replacement. So about 25% of the meters that we currently have now have a leak detection capabilities, and so they can show us when there are leaks and when there are not. And so we're able to run reports to get some of that data. We're currently have a plan to replace our meters every 15 to 20 years. So we're getting through and we're replacing about 200 meters per year, and all of the new meters have this capability. Some of the other things that we do, our current water rate structure, we have tiers that are implemented, which are conservation tiers, and those help conserve by the more water you use, the more expensive it is per tier. Current conservation practices, a few more that I'll mention here. We do have a mainline replacement program. We're fortunate enough to have a lot of new infrastructure, but we do have some older infrastructure, and we have a plan to replace some of that on an annual basis, which we're doing. Our automatic meter reading, we have leak detection. We have companies that come out and provide leak detection services for us. We also identify our high users for customers, and we notify them if we have. So we set a limit every month, and if our users go over that limit, then we'll reach out to them and say, hey, you're using more than you have in the past. Is there something wrong? You may have a leak. And so it's one of those things that we just help to try and curb some of those high uses or leaks that could potentially be there. We have a SCADA system which helps us identify how much water we're using compared to years past. A lot of our parks are installing rain sensors, which obviously helps with that. Open space in parks also, on an annual basis, we work with the Parks Department to review the water use that they put on the parks annually, compare it to years past, compare it to the seasons that we've had, if it's hot, dry, and see what we can do to improve those things there. And again, the tiered water rates. Some of the things we do for public education is in our consumer confidence report that we send out annually, there's tips and information about conservation. In the consumer confidence report, you'll also see water resource information, water quality, but it's important that we have that conservation information in there. Education programs, we work with Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District very closely. They have a couple programs which we promote through our communications team multiple times throughout the year. They have the Slow the Flow program. They have Localscapes, which I know that a lot of you have probably just been educated on within the last couple months, which is a great program. These programs encourage water-wise fixtures, landscapes, and irrigation systems. We promote water-wise landscaping with our commercial customers. There's grant programs through Jordan Valley for commercial users as they're developing their landscape plans for their new commercial buildings. that they can receive grant funding if they use waterized landscaping. So we're promoting those. And then through our social media and flyers that we send out on occasion, we provide tips and then also how they can get in contact with Jordan Valley. Some of the things that we're doing to help with the conservation practices is we're using an AWWA water audit, which is American Water Works Association. They have an audit program to compare your water production, water sold, and then if you're fitting within some of the national guidelines, we're working with our meter supplier to do some of that work. We're working on the advanced metering infrastructure, which is AMI. We have it in the budget already for this year to implement that. What that does is it allows for the capability for us to set up a web portal so that as customers, they can log on to a web portal, see their actual usage. It compares them to their peers, neighboring, so they can see how they compare to some of their neighbors. You know, gas bills and other utility bills have this function as well. But it allows people to kind of set parameters. They can set up notifications. If I use more than 20,000 gallons this month, send me a notification so that I can curb my use. So those are some of the things that we're working on. And then the local scapes programs again. So that's really it. If you have any questions.
Love the quote.
Oh, good.
Good job.
So
I'm waiting for Lieutenant Strongbird to come in, but he's not coming fast enough. So let you know, the contents have been opened up and we have no worries about what's in there. So we're going out of lockdown. We're in good shape and safe.
Awesome.
Thank you for your patience.
So I can leave now.
Wait, Justin, good job. It's such an important topic that sometimes it is a cool thing that we're talking about tonight, just truly being good stewards of a very finite resource that we have in our state. So thank you for taking care of that.
Thank you.
Sherry, I thought you were going to say it's such an important topic, we had to go on lockdown for a minute to make sure that we gave it the attention it needs. But yeah, no, it certainly is. And it's working on the sewer district side of things. You see both sides of it. And obviously something that Justin has been working with and we're working with at the sewer district side of it is that water reuse capability. And how do we get those systems in place and perfected so that, again, we have an opportunity for water reuse because it is such a precious commodity. So thanks, Justin.
All right, any further discussion by the council?
Nope.
My recommendation on this particular item, considering the recent events in the last few minutes, is that we continue this particular item.
Well, I think we need to open the public hearing and then just leave the public hearing
leave it open?
and continue it.
Okay. So with that, I will open the public hearing at this time. If you'd like to make comment, please come to the podium and state your name and make your comment. Okay, seeing none, I will accept a motion to continue this.
I will make a motion that we continue item 9.2 until our next meeting and leave the public hearing open until that time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. All right, 9.3, public hearing pertaining to the proposed Parks Master Plan. Wendy Thomas.
Hi again. Thank you for allowing us to present this topic tonight. As you know, we've been working on this for quite a while with Landmark Design. Lisa Benson is here. She's been very patient and nimble with us as we continue to update as quickly as our parks and trails are developing. It's a constant update for her. So we're hoping to finally have everything that we have planned, everything that we've already done in the plan and ready to go. So I'll turn the time over to Lisa and she will let you know where we're at.
Thank you for the opportunity to present the draft plan to you tonight. So this plan is a vision document that builds upon your other planning documents, and it establishes new goals and objectives for the future. It looks out to a 10-year planning horizon and beyond, and it does include specific implementation strategies. The plan's divided into 6 chapters: introduction, parks and open space, recreation, community arts and events, trails, and then we dive into priorities and costs, and then goals and policies. We've had a robust public involvement process throughout this project. We had a scientifically a scientific survey, a statistically valid survey. We have had a great steering committee on this project, and we had several public scoping meetings and focus interviews. You've had a lot of great input from your community in different formats. Some of the top items to come out of the statistically valid survey, the top priorities of your residents are trails, open space, and existing parks. The number one reason for using a park is its close proximity to home. And 66% of respondents feel extremely, very, or moderately, that it's extremely, very, or moderately important to have dedicated dog parks. 44% participated in recreation programs last year. Only 26% have a membership at the rec center. 2/3 of your residents use trails at least a few times a year. And 73% strongly or somewhat agree that the city provides adequate parks, recreation, and trails opportunities. So that's a really nice figure to come out of the scientific survey.
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
Just on the statistics of those that actually have memberships at the rec center.
Yes.
Does that contemplate those that maybe don't have a membership but use some of the programs that are available, the youth programs and sports programs that are available at the rec center?
So the 44% participated in the programs. A lot of that is
would
done through
encompass those.
Exactly, and
Okay.
so the 26% is just memberships.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, for sure. We also tested out a new tool for us on this planning project. It's an online engagement tool called Social Pinpoint. So you guys got to be a guinea pig for us. This is an online mapping tool that allows residents to drag and drop a pin to the map, and they can type in a comment, and they can post a picture, they can provide a link to us. So what we've found through this process is that we're actually getting a lot of feedback through this tool that we used to get in the face-to-face meetings from people when they used to come and draw on maps and that sort of thing. It's another way to reach out to people and get another layer of information, a different type of information. And we had 76 users provide 126 comments, and the maps on the right just show the concentration of those comments throughout the city. Looking at your demographics, you have a significant population increase anticipated by your build-out in 2060, going from just over 51,000 residents to over 115,000. And looking at your population overall right now, you're younger than the county, the state, and the nation. You have more children under 18 in your households than the county, state, and nation. At the same time, you're also gradually aging, and your household size is decreasing. This graphic just summarizes some of the amenities that are available to your community, how the total park acres, and that includes special use parks, your recreation center, and just some of the individual quantities of amenities that you have. This map shows the existing parks and open space in the community right now. And we also looked at individual amenities within all of those parks with the help of the Parks Department, pulled together this great detailed inventory of all your amenities within all of the different park categories. And your existing parks are divided into 4 different park types. We have local parks, which are the smallest park types, neighborhood parks, on up to regional parks, which goes from fewer amenities to more amenities as it increases in size. Your local parks, you have 17 acres. You can see the different acreages of the other park categories right there. And this adds up to 191.5 acres of total park acres that contribute to level of service. And I just want to mention that when we're looking at level of service in the community, we don't count special use parks that might serve unique needs like the cemetery or the community garden. We don't count private parks in this amount. And we also don't count facilities that are owned by other entities like the county rec center. So level of service is a ratio of your park acres to your population. So to calculate level of service, we take your existing park acres, we divide that by your population and multiply by that by 1,000. And that gives us 3.71 acres per 1,000 people in the city right now. Another way that we like to look at your existing park inventory and how well your community is being served is to look at your distribution. And we assign a service radius to each of your park types and apply that on the map. And we overlay that over your existing and proposed residential land use. And you can see the areas on this map that are in yellow are residential areas, either existing or proposed, that are not served by a distribution, they're not within walking distance or kind of easy driving distance to a community park. And so the city right now has 4 gaps. You can see the distribution on this map here. And the solutions to fill those gap areas, the first gap is to develop the planned 43-acre Northwest Sports Park. To cover gap 2 would be to develop the 24.4-acre Hidden Oaks Park. Gap 3 is interesting. It's on the southwest corner of the city, and in some cases, you don't have available vacant land. You don't have enough available land to build a new park. So in this case, we're recommending that you focus on developing the trailhead in that area, and that open space, your Herriman Hills open space, helps meet the need of the residents in that area. And gap 4 is more significant. That's in the, you can see that's in the southeast portion of the city. That's a larger gap. So we're recommending 2 10-acre neighborhood parks in that area, as well as a 20-acre community park. And this is all to fill existing gaps in the city right now. This map shows the distribution if you take all of the existing and the proposed. So what the proposed maps that I just, or the proposed parks that I just mentioned to fill gaps, and also some of the other currently planned parks and other parks that we're recommending to help fill gaps in the future. So this is to build out. This says, this map shows if you build everything out, then you end up covering all of your residents' needs. Looking at your future level of service, residents are generally happy with the level of service that they have right now. So we're recommending that you continue that 3.71 acres per 1,000 people into the future. And what that means when you project that out to 2028, you come up with a total acres required by 2028 of 429. You subtract what you already have, and then you need that 107.4 acres to fill the existing gaps. So what that says is you don't actually need you don't need to acquire any new land to meet needs by 2028, but you do have to develop 5.2 acres. And then this also assumes that you have 31.2 acres that are being built by developers to help meet that need by 2028. And by 2060, by build out, all of those same proposed parks come into play, and the parkland that needs to be acquired and developed by 2060 is 94.5 acres. And I just want to point out that this meets your level of service need, but we also have to look at that distribution analysis and make sure that you're also filling the gaps. And so we're also recommending the addition of another 10-acre neighborhood park up in the northwest corner of the city, just to help fill a gap up in that area. So meeting the future needs, that we're recommending that you develop that proposed 10-acre park in the northwest corner of the city, and then also a 98.9 acre regional park in the southeast corner of the city. So this is a total of 108.9 acres to be acquired and developed to meet need through build out for both level of service and distribution. And again, this map just shows the distribution when you include all of those future parks. The plan also goes into standards for all of your park types, so that in the future, anytime a park is developed, it has a minimum level that it needs to be developed to. It's not saying that every park should look the same or have all of the same amenities. It's saying at a minimum, this is what you should provide. And we definitely always recommend that you communicate with neighbors, and it sounds like you guys already have a process in place through your community's facilitator program. So we go through each of the park types and provide those minimum standards. We also look at the individual amenities within all of your parks and do an analysis based on a population analysis, how many amenities per 1,000 people or per population you have. And then we also look at, based on those park standards, what you're short on. And then we come up with a total of what you need to end up meeting both of those, both a level of service need on a population basis, and then also on the park standards. You have over 2,000 acres, of existing open space, which is impressive. You guys have such a great resource, and I know a lot of cities are envious. And The community is definitely in support of securing more open space in the future, and as you know, it's acquired on an opportunistic basis, and there's not a level of service or a distribution per se on it. It's, definitely grab what you can get anytime the opportunity comes up. But this plan does recommend focusing on the expansion of your existing Herriman Hills open space, and then focusing on those natural drainages and other features that you have within the community that make great trail connections and corridors to connect all of your parks and your open space with your trail system. And also looking at unique uses that could be considered for your open space where they're appropriate. And the Herriman Hills Open Space Master Plan details a lot of those great ideas. Additional considerations, we recommended developing a recreation accessibility plan. You guys have some really good advocates within your community that are willing to work with the city to make sure that all of your recreation resources are accessible to the community at large. We're also recommending a wayfinding and signage master plan, just so that people know what you have, where it is, how to get to it, and make the best use of it. And it also helps brand and create a sense of identity with those spaces for your residents. Also developing an open space facility standards manual so that, if you have particular equipment that you prefer or standard furniture, things like that, that you have a ready resource available for developers. And then just ensuring that developers are providing parks that meet the standards within this plan. Looking at the recreation side of things, your primary recreation, needs are met through the recreation, the J.L. Sorensen Recreation Center. You also have a lot of great sports clubs in the community that help meet those needs. There's just a graphic showing all of your programs. You have a great blend of programs, a great variety. Community events, Wendy and her crew do a great job putting on a lot of events for your residents. And the Arts Council, you guys have a lot of great activities with that. And we did get in, the plan does get into a little bit of a discussion on some of the directions that some of these groups want to go with some of these programs. So we're just recommending that you continue to partner with the county to provide those great resources and making sure to help get the word out about those. Also continue looking at the possibility of that community center in partnership with the community college. And then as the need and demand increases, looking at a feasibility study for our rec center with an outdoor swimming pool. Taking a look at trails, you have almost 50 miles of existing trails within your city, and the plan proposes to increase that to 173. And you also have existing bike lanes in the city, and the plan is recommending to increase those as well, over 20 miles. This map shows your existing and proposed trails within the city, and this map also shows existing and proposed crossings. So this may be something that you want to tie in with your traffic committee and some of the things that they're looking at as well with your transportation plan update. This map shows a distribution. Just one of the goals of the city has been to make sure that trails are within walking distance of residents, and this map shows that there are still a few little gaps, but overall you have a pretty good provision when this system is built out, which is impressive. The plan establishes trail standards, both written standards that talk about the width and material of the trail, user groups that are allowed on those different trail types, and it also provides visual standards showing what those trails look like in implementation. And trailhead standards, establishing 3 different trailhead types, and these came out of your Herriman Hills Open Space Plan. So this plan definitely builds on the information that was established in that plan. This plan proposes additional trailheads. Some of these trailheads listed in the plan were addressed in the Herriman Hills Open Space Plan. But we do have additional trailheads that are proposed, and this spells out all the different, how many parking stalls are proposed, the different amenities at each of those, and again, the user groups that would be served. So the plan recommends building your proposed trail network by 2060, your year for build out. Also implementing the vision that's in your Herriman Hills Open Space Master Plan, continuing to partner with UDOT on some of those trailheads and crossings, because some of those larger facilities can be costly. Also developing and implementing that wayfinding and signage, and then continually evaluating your safety needs and requirements, just making sure everything is keeping pace. taking a look at probable costs for parks. So this includes bringing all of your existing parks up to standards with all of those amenities and meeting needs by, so this is also filling existing gaps, meeting needs by 2028, meeting your needs by build out, and then also the cost of some of the special use parks that you have, historic parks and dog parks that are also coming down the line. So this is a big line item here, 102 million. Looking at the probable cost for trails, this is to implement everything but bike lanes. We're assuming that bike lane cost is included with the roadway improvements, so we've left that to the transportation plan, but this is for all of the crossings and the trails, and that's 32 million. And so the total together with those improvements plus the wayfinding and the accessibility plan and that open space facility standards manual is 135 million. We do realize that you know, these are big numbers to be grappling with. The plan does contain a section that has some funding options and resources that can be used as tools as you move forward for implementation. And we generally recommend, if you have to acquire land, do it as soon as you can, because that price never goes down. And when we were working in Taylorsville years ago, just after they incorporated, we said, you know, buy your parks land now. And they did, and they were so glad because it sat vacant for years and years, and they had to wait to develop it, but it, you know, they ended up spending so much less on the land. So definitely secure that as soon as you can. The plan gets into detail with this action and implementation plan, so it takes each one of these tasks and policies and applies it over a time frame, what needs to be done right away, and you know, there are some of these items that just need to happen on an ongoing basis. So this kind of helps you strategize how to achieve the goals in the plan. And the plan wraps up with 7 major goals, just assuring that residents have access to parks, that your park standard, your park maintenance stays high. You have a really high standard of parks. I'd have to be very complimentary of what I've seen in the city. And again, acquiring more open space and ensuring that residents have high quality recreation and arts facilities, developing a complete streets approach, and that's something that the transportation, we've been in communication with the transportation planners, and that's something that will be addressed in your transportation update. That just ensures that as new roadways are developed, they try to meet the needs of all user groups. And then implementing the envisioned trail network, and then promoting water conservation, which obviously we just heard you guys are on the track and doing a great job of that. So that's it.
Any questions from the council?
I have one quick question. You went through and obviously did the calculations. So that 3.71 acres per thousand that we currently have, and we know that generally the community is happy with that level of service. So that's what really, I guess that is kind of contemplates moving forward, is at least maintaining that. Is there other, I guess, accepted national standards out there that say what that number should be per thousand, and how do we compare to that?
Yeah.
I know that the most important thing is really, is your community happy with what you currently have? But again, how do we compare to those national standards?
Yeah, exactly. And there is actually a chart in the plan that looks at that. We compare you to other communities locally. The problem with even comparing yourself to other communities locally is that everybody has unique needs. You have unique conditions. Like Orem, for example, has no open space within their city at all, no natural drainage channels, anything like that. So they have to meet their needs in other ways. The National Recreation and Parks Association does set, they do have national kind of standards, or they report on kind of an average of what everybody's doing, but it's so unique, especially out west here, because we have so many public lands that also help meet our needs, and just, you know, varying from community to community. One community may, you know, really like outdoor, you know, playing baseball or outdoor basketball courts, and other ones have different focuses. So we definitely worked with your park staff saying, you know, where are you hearing requests for more fields or more sports courts or different amenities, and in just even your park level in general, you know, what they're getting requests for.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question. And what's the definition of walkable? when we're talking about having something that's within walking distance, what's that definition?
It's generally a quarter mile to a half
Quarter mile. Do we have any pockets of population within the city that do not have a park within that, including the proposed plan, other than the 4 big gaps that we talked, that don't have a park within that quarter mile?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you were to look at, because we took, I believe the community and regional parks, we applied a 1 mile service radius to those because people are generally more willing to drive to those. And so if we did an analysis and just showed, applied that quarter mile or a half mile radius, then definitely there would be a lot more gaps in the city.
So I think that's my only concern as we walk through this process is that, I would hate for us to say that because we have, big regional parks that might, that are a mile away,
Yeah.
that's, necessarily serving, the population centers that might be looking for something different in those areas. So that's my only concern going
Right.
forward. However, I do think that we have a lot of, the plan mitigates, is already looking to mitigate most of that, if not, the vast majority. So I'm not sure, what the right answer for that is, just as we move forward, and maybe I'm looking at Wendy as well, is making sure that we're not forgetting those particular population, especially if we have some that are more condensed population centers that may be missing out on a park within walking distance.
Right. And that's where you can also layer on your open space and trail system to that, because they kind of feed into each other. And I also want to mention that this is just a minimum, the 3.71 acres. I know Wendy would like to see, more than that if we had, a lot more funds available. So it's definitely, kind of the minimum to shoot for, but you can always go.
Well, I know that we have $100 million sitting under the.
I saw it in your budget, so.
I think the funding or the cost is an important point, about this, and that is that obviously these types of amenities and things don't come cheap. And so I think it demonstrates, one, as a community, we've been willing thus far to invest in those, and at least our plan contemplates continuing to invest in those. But again, it comes at a cost to the residents in order to be able to do that. And I think we've heard fairly loudly from our residents out here that is something that is important to them.
Right.
Yeah, it's important too to remember that the figures that she presented, the total was a little over $135 million. That's only the cost to construct. That is not the cost to maintain.
Yeah.
And in your statistically valid survey said your existing parks are a concern. So people want to make sure that whatever you're building, you're able to maintain into the future. So.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very good
If I
information.
can just make one more comment, just to tell you how difficult this process has been. One of her slides is already outdated because we closed on another 42 acres last week. So now we have to update it again to reflect that we have more open space than her slides indicate, so sorry. We'll bring this back next month, so if you want to continue the public hearing until then, that's great. Hopefully we'll have Science Bank present as well to present on the impact fee analysis, so.
Awesome.
With that, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing portion. If you'd like to make a comment at this time, please come up, state your name. All right, seeing none, I will accept a motion to continue this and hold open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we will go on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Sherry, can I make an amendment to your motion?
Sure.
Based on our discussion in our work meeting, item 10.4 is approval of a resolution adopting our annual meeting schedule, but I believe in there it contemplates a 7 p.m. start time, and based on our discussion in the work meeting, I would make an amendment to your motion to change that to 7:30 to reflect that.
Is everyone good with that? Yeah.
Are you good with that?
I am.
And are we good with the second on that?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that
Thank
motion
you.
passes.
Thanks, Clint.
Oh,
Oh, that is a roll call vote. I apologize. All right, Jared,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Clint.
yes.
I vote yes, that motion passes. And that's why we have our city recorder. All right, so we are on to 10.6, 10.5. What are we on to?
We're on 11.
We're at 211. Okay,
Yep.
thank you. 11, discussion consideration of a resolution approving an interlocal cooperative agreement between Herriman City and the Community Development Renewal Agency of Herriman City regarding the North Herriman Community Reinvestment Area sales tax. John?
So based on your actions, I would recommend that you approve 11.1. I've already identified what that purpose is, and then continue 11.2.
Okay, any questions from the council? Accept a motion.
Motion to approve resolution number R42-2019, approving an interlocal cooperative agreement between Herriman City and the Community Development and Renewal Agency of Herriman City regarding the Herriman North Community Reinvestment Area sales tax.
Second?
Motion is second. Sherry?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And I will vote yes, that motion passes. I'll accept a motion as well on 11.2.
Motion to continue resolution number R43-2019. Do you need me to read the rest of it? All right.
Second?
I have motion and second. Clint?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
I will vote yes, that motion passes and that item will be continued. 11.3, discussion and consideration of resolution adopting the council districts as voter participation areas for purposes of initiatives, referenda, and other political activity. Jackie?
Good evening, City Council. So the last legislative session, there was a bill that went through to amend provisions for referendums, initiatives, and other political activities. One of those items contemplates how signatures are required to be received when dealing with initiatives and referendums. And where we have districts, they are putting it in the code to allow us to designate voter participation areas when it comes to gaining those signatures. The requirement for an initiative would require that 10% of the signatures required come from at least 75% of the districts. So those signatures would have to be met from 3 of our 4 city council districts. That same requirement would go through with referendums, but that signature, you would have to have 27.5% of the signatures coming from each of those respective districts, of 75% of those districts. So basically, in essence, what this resolution would do is change for the voter's preference to supersede that of a specified area. So not all of your signatures are from a specific area, that it's more widespread throughout the city. Do you guys have any questions for me about this bill or resolution?
So if we don't pass this, what happens?
Then it's not designated.
So they'd have to get a majority to pass, or?
No, because it is outlined in state code, so it would still have, they would still have to follow this, but we are just putting it in policy saying that we are going to follow state code.
Okay.
Good. I'll make motion to approve resolution number R44-2019, adopting council districts as voter participation areas for purposes of initiatives, referenda, and other political activities.
Second?
Motion is second. Jared?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, that motion passes. All right, so that brings us to the end of our agenda. Future meetings, the next Planning Commission meeting will not be until January 2nd at 7 p.m. This January 6th, however, will be the oath of office ceremony for our new city council member. January 8th will be our next city council work meeting. We don't intend on having one over Christmas time. Our city council work meeting will start at 5 p.m. and our general meeting will start at 7:30.
Yes.
So it will start at 7:30, even though we have put on here 7 p.m. We are changing that time to 7:30 to allow us to have more time in our work meetings. Okay. The offices will be closed over the holidays, so please keep that in mind. Other than that, I will accept a motion to adjourn and go back into work meeting.
So moved.
Looking for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yep, thank you.